What is up, Watch fam, and welcome to episode 99 of Ask TNH. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and today we have a pretty awesome episode, one that I've been waiting to do for like at least 2 months, but I kind of just wanted to hold on to it. So I think I'm ready in preparation for episode 100, which is coming up on Thursday. It's going to be an awesome episode. I'm really, really excited. It's another episode you guys have been begging for a while, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. But before we get into the wristwatch check, I want to remind you all we do have a contest going on right now, a Theo and Harris contest for 3 separate $100 gift cards to theoandharris.com for you to pick out, the perfect vintage watch, whichever vintage watch suits you. Basically, we detailed this in our last episode of ASKTNH, but basically just go to our Instagram, screenshot your favorite photo, repost it onto your account with the description, basically telling your followers why they should or shouldn't follow Theo and Harris. Preferably should. I have a feeling the people who do it that shouldn't probably aren't going to win. But the captions we think they're the most honest, the most appropriate, are going to win. That's it. It's not from our friends. It's not people we know or like. It's just it's just people who have the most honest caption. I think the odds of winning are pretty pretty cool. I mean, I think 3 winners is good. Anyway, quick wristwatch check, and then we'll move on to our episode. I am wearing a vintage chronograph, Value 7733, signed medical. It's got a pulsation scale on the side. I mean, this watch, is it possible to empirically prove that this was made for a doctor? No. It's a very, very small maker. I've never really seen these before. I don't think I've actually ever seen this before. So for me, so far, it's been a one-off in my vintage journey, but so many vintage chronographs have. But I think it's the perfect gift to give to, perfect gift to buy for yourself, or to give to a doctor or whatever, if your son or husband or father is a doctor. I don't know. But anyway, it's available in the shop. So we updated our inventory this morning, so check it out at theoandharris.com, the link below. Or actually the icon in one of these bottom corner shop watches at theoandharris.com. So check it out. Now let's get into the episode. So today I'm going to be talking about my least favorite Patek Philippe watches. And there are a lot. I think that Patek's made a lot of gross watches in their time of being alive. So it's, I think that the ones I chose today, are they 100% my bottom, 4 or 5? I don't know. I always get nervous saying that because I'm sure there were a couple of bizarro pieces that I didn't find today that I really, really hate, maybe even more than these. But I tell you that even if these aren't my bottom 5, these are awful looking watches in my opinion. So let's get into it. Before we get into it, a lot of my choices here have been aesthetic and design driven. As you guys know, if you watch the show, I'm very, very aesthetically driven. I love a vintage Omega Seamaster that looks beautiful, that's powered by a solid movement, much more than I would love an amazing movement with an ugly or mundane aesthetic. So I definitely take looks and design and quality of design very seriously. So that's kind of like how I judged a lot of these things. Obviously, Patek has been made famous in the mass market by steel sports watch, right? The Nautilus. Obviously, we have consumed it as kind of relative. Although I hate to use the word low level, but for Patek, the Nautilus is a low level-ish watch. I think only second to the Aquanaut, right? So I think it's an amazing watch. I'm a big fan, but it isn't the only steel sports watch Patek has made in their history. In fact, the reference 5080 takes a spot in my bottom 5 or 6 Patek Philippe watches ever. They call this watch the Neptune. I think it's a tragically ugly watch. I know a couple people that own them, and I think that they either maybe have some fun with the fact that it's so ugly, or they have awful taste. Either way, it doesn't change the watch. I think that the bracelet, it's like this, I don't know, like beads of ricey textured thing. I just think it's so ugly. The salmon dial, as pictured here, is like the most famous one. People like those the most because I guess it's a salmon dial steel Patek. So whatever. I just still think I think the dial has no depth. I think that the bezel has this really weird texture. Overall, I think it's an ugly watch. I don't really need to go further into it. I think that, next to the Nautilus, this is, I mean, it's almost a joke. I can't see anyone really going and purchasing this watch, even though I know people own them. So that is going to be in my bottom 5 watches. Okay, staying in the theme of salmon dials, I'm going to go with the 5035, an annual calendar Patek that I absolutely love. So let me be totally clear that I actually love this watch. I would buy one if I had them. I think that if I had the money, I think they represent an incredible value value in the $20,000 range. I think that these watches are one of the best buys in modern Patek Philippe, or just Patek Philippe. But that date window at the bottom drives me nuts. That date window is probably, in my opinion, one of the most disastrous placements of date windows I have ever seen. And not just because it's the worst, but because it's the worst on such an amazing watch. And for that reason, it breaks my heart. You know, I still think that this is a great watch. I respect people who own them. I think they made a great decision in a lot of ways. But for me, aesthetically, that date window is just it's just an atrocity. I think that the way the white breaks up the salmon, or even the gray in many instances, is awful. It's so just so broken. The dial just shatters. And I think the depth in the dial, it's just awful. So that's going to take another spot at the bottom. Even though I do love it, that date window specifically is just, you know, horrible. Okay, now we're gonna go with two more that are in the same family. So it's the 5055 reference and the 5085. The 85 is interesting because it's almost a mix between a 5055 and the 5080. The Neptune that I talked about just a second ago. It's this weirdo combination. I think the dials are poorly executed. I think the case on the 5055 is just solid. I mean, it just has no depth to it. It's the most bizarre design. There are no ridges, there's no bezel, there's no anything. It almost looks like a I don't know, like a bizarro architecture thing. I mean, you know, in a lot of ways, I'm okay with that one. Much more so than the 5085, but to me, they're both just amplified in their I guess bad qualities by their predecessor, the 5054, which I think is a freaking gorgeous watch. Check it out right here. I absolutely love the lugs. I love the little screws. I love the gentle kind of circular case. Well, it is a circular case. I love that white, just piercing dial, and the way the hand. That whole watch to me is perfect. I would own a 5054 in half a second. They're by no means cheap. The first time I saw one was on a subway, actually, and I was totally taken by it. I'd never seen the reference before in my life, and I'm totally in love with it. And this watch, to me, a feat of design, a real magnificent watch that utilizes power reserve, sub-seconds, and a moon phase. I mean, what a magnificent, what a magnificently refined watch to pick such practical, well, the power reserve is practical, but then it's this mixture between practicality and the moon phase's beauty, which you just don't find in that many relatively obscure Pateks. Most moon phase Pateks, like 1518s and stuff like that, they're just huge 1518, 5004, all that stuff. They're just hugely famous watches. This one is not. This is kind of an under the radar watch that I think is just gorgeous, and for that reason, it makes these other two watches, in my opinion, abominations to the same kind of heritage. The next one I'm going to go with here is both equally disgusting and new. It's the 5976, the brand new 40th anniversary Patek, the kind of the 5080-ish watch, except 5 millimeters larger, diamond baguettes, and this tombstone dial. Ugly, ugly watch. I think one of the worst. I talked to a friend the other day, and he's an enormous Patek collector and and fan, and he said that those watches killed Patek for him forever. He's not going to stop buying them out of principle. He's going to stop buying them because he just is so disgusted at this point with the company that he does not want to support them. So, I mean, that's the effect this watch is having on actual consumers. So it's no surprise that I had to list it in the bottom Patek ASKTNH episode. Okay, this next one here, I'm going to go with a very famous Patek, actually, a Patek that I don't think anyone would think is pretty. It's the 5180 reference. It was released under this guise of the word art piece. I don't know what art this is. This is awful. To me, this watch is totally disgusting. Honestly, this watch, from the first time I saw it, to me genuinely looks like just a fake watch. It looks like something you could buy from China. I'm 100% sure if you held it in the metal, you wouldn't feel the same way. I wouldn't feel the same way. But just the design alone, forget the quality. The design is just so hideous. I think the Patek Philippe, the logo, the seal there, and the skeleton is just so ugly. I think that skeleton watches as a whole walk a very fine line. Some of them are beautiful, but I don't know. There's no restraint here. The clashing of textures between the skeleton and the engravings, and then the beads of rice bracelet, it all, to me, is a disaster. I don't know what Patek was thinking when they made this. I don't know what people are thinking when they Instagram it with anything else apart from yuck. So not a good Patek Philippe. Okay, and the final one we're gonna have to go with here is the king of all Pateks, and the king, in my opinion, of all ugly Pateks, the reference 6002, which is the successor to the 5002, the Sky Moon Tourbillon. It's an enormous watch. The first one was not pretty, but not nearly as ugly as this monstrosity. This watch brings me to my thesis of this entire video. The whole point, it's not just a rag on Patek. It's not. Yes, it is a little bit, but it's not just that. The point is that no matter how complicated and how impressive and how yada 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 everything may be, but you know, hoity-toity, high nose, you know, whatever, if it's ugly, it's just ugly. I don't care how many tourbillons you put in, how many minute repeaters, how long some, you know, old Swiss blind man engraved your case. It doesn't matter to me. It's just an ugly, ugly thing. The skeleton from before, a magnificent piece, I'm sure. I mean, I don't doubt the supremacy of these watches at all. I'm sure they're great. But the point is that, at least in my opinion, they are so offensive in design, so hideous, that I just don't care, you know, what they are in movement. Can I talk about it with a movement maker? Would that interest me? Yes. Right? Talking to the movement makers, talking to the watchmakers that made a lot of these watches. That's interesting. Because the watchmaker's interesting. Not because the watch is interesting. I would be so just blown away listening to what they have to say and listening to how their head works, how their brain kind of dissects these large projects that are so beyond most people's comprehension. That would be interesting. So by no means am I trying to say that these watches are total disasters, because in many, many ways, whether that's in, you know, alloy manufacturing, whether that's in case finishing, whether that's in, you know, almost movement, whether it's in finishing, whether it's in technology, I'm sure that all of the watches I listed today are amazing, or in one way supreme. If the whole package doesn't complement itself, if the design elements aren't balanced or they clash, you have a disaster. And it's a shame, because then all of the good things that went into that watch, in my opinion, are in vain. They go to waste. So that's it. I mean, no matter how much kind of, you know, money, first of all, money doesn't buy taste, and in innovation, for the sake of innovation, clashing and losing sight of an end goal is a disaster. So for those reasons, Patek has made some awful looking watches. And if Patek can do that, then I think that we're all allowed a little bit of leeway in our own lives. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching episode 99 of Ask T&H. Don't forget to enter our contest and tag Theo and Harris in the photo that you are reposting, because the odds of you getting chosen are pretty freaking high. So that's it. Thank you, and have an awesome Tuesday.